Okay guys, let's go through at least describing some of the stuff with the equation. So first of all, if you're describing, the big thing that we're looking for is where the number here is located. So the parent function is that x squared, so that means on this one I know that it opens up, and I know it opens up because in front of there I would assume there's a 1. So remember, if it's positive, that means that it opens up. Now this plus 4 on the end, because it's on the end, that means like the stuff we were doing yesterday, if it's positive 4, that means that it's a shift on the y-axis. And if it's positive 4, that means he goes up 4. Okay, in the second one that's down here, here's my parent function, which means a is 1, should be right there, and that means that it opens up. This minus 3 is on the end, which means that it is a shift on the y-axis. And because it's minus 3, that means it's going to go down 3. Okay, now that's the big thing with going up and going down as far as the number on the end. When I have something in the parentheses, the shift is a little different. So when this is inside the parentheses, first of all, that's going to change how it's actually shifted. Now in this one, there's not really an x squared yet because of that squared part that's there, but I do assume there's a 1 in the front, and that's kind of my a value. So a is 1, which means it's going to open up. If it's inside, that means it's going to be a shift on the x-axis. And if it's minus 1, it's always going to go opposite, so it's going to go to plus 1. And at this point, that means if it goes plus 1, it goes on the x-axis. If this is my x and y axis, it's going to go over 1. And then my graph is going to be like that. Now for just a minute, let's go back to the last two. If that first one says that it goes up 4, if this is my x and y axis, it's going to go up to 4 here, and then it's going to open up. On the second one, if it is going to go down 3, if I have my x and y axis, if I go down 3, it's going to be negative 3, and then it's going to open that way. Okay, on this last one again, I assume there's a 1 in front. That's my a value, so that's 1. So that means it opens up. And then inside, if it's inside the parenthesis, that means it's going to be a shift on the x-axis. And it's going to be opposite. So if it's positive 5, that means it's going to go to negative 5. So that means it's going to go the left 5. So if I have an x and y axis like this, if I go to the left 5, I'm going to have to go to negative 5 here. Oops. And then it's going to open like this. Okay, let's take a look at one more and we're going to call it good. So if I have this equation, this is going to be 2 movements because of the way that it's written. Let me change color so I can mark this. First of all, out here, because there's an x squared part there, I'm going to put a 1 out there. So that means a is negative 1, and it's going to open down. Okay, if it's plus 1, that means it's a shift on the y-axis. So if it's plus 1, that means it's going to go up 1. And in here, it's a shift on the x. So if it's positive 4, remember it's got to be opposite, so it's going to go to negative 4. Now the good news is we can actually get these labeled. So if this is my x and y axis, if I go up 1, and if I go to negative 4, that means I'm going to go 4 over here. Where those two come together, that's going to be my vertex point. And if it opens down, it's going to look like this. Okay, we're going to practice more on this tomorrow.